Congressman from Colorado, Mr. Coffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the issues I think that are of concern to everybody is that of health care. And we've had the health care savings account, which to me seems somewhat complicated for a small business to maneuver, but maybe it's not. And I wonder if you all can respond to that, how difficult it is to navigate or simple it is to navigate for a small business.
I've looked into HSAs now for the last 4 or 5 renewals of my insurance, and the problem is not so much the complication, although there clearly is some complexity. It's that a lot of the insurance companies are simply not offering combinations of high-deductible insurance policies that, when combined with the costs of an HSA, assuming that business was to subsidize the HSA, that they really come out to be much more inexpensive. So I think that was a short-term step to try and make health insurance more affordable for small businesses, but a lot more needs to be done to really bring down the cost of health insurance overall. And HSAs, I think, are not proving to be the salvation that many people hoped they would be.
Okay.
I think I agree that HSA, the big limitation there, I think the processing, the administrative part works pretty well with having a credit card, a debit card. The process itself is relatively simple. It's the limited plans. You have to have a specific type of a health plan in order to take advantage of an HSA. Whether that plan works for your family or not then becomes the issue, and that makes it difficult. I think that's why I like so much what H.R. 1470 does, which basically moves the self-employed health insurance deduction from page 1 of the 1040 over to the Schedule C. Most big businesses pay for health insurance for their employees and get a full deduction for that, for federal income taxes and FICA and Medicare, Social Security tax, everything. It's deductible for everything. But since that deduction is on page 1 of the 1040, the small business owner does not get an SE tax deduction for it, which basically, pure and simple, means it's a 15.3% increase in health cost for the sole proprietor. And that's just not fair. So regardless of what type of plan, there's no limit. You don't have to have a high deductible plan. Just moving that deduction, passing 1470, moving that to Schedule C is an immediate 15% reduction in health care costs for as many as 23 million small business owners out there.
I've seen similar results in my practice. We have HSAs, and our employees have been happy with it. I mean, we've seen some real savings from it, and the administration of it is not very onerous. I've also seen smaller businesses that have put it in where they have not received as much benefit. So I'm kind of torn between, I think there's a size limit there where a little bit larger businesses may be seeing some benefit than the smaller ones are, and that all gets down to cost. And I don't think it's an administration thing. It's more about, are you saving money on the plan overall as compared to offering a traditional insurance plan?
If you were going to offer, if the Congress were to offer a tax deduction for the sole proprietor, for the individuals purchasing health insurance, to take the pressure off of the small business owner and to cover more people, what do you think that should look like? Should it be 100%? Should it be 35%? I mean, what would you, 25%?
Are you looking at it where he's only covering himself and not his employees?
Correct.
Okay, I think you're going to have, if you're going to do that, it's not going to be on a level playing field with what other businesses have, because they're providing all of their employees health insurance benefits. And I think that probably the more correct answer would be to provide them incentive to cover their employees, because uncovered employee health costs is rampant in this country. I deal with a lot of physicians, and they're frustrated in that basically they end up giving free medical care to a lot of people, and that they look at that as their burden on society. But that they do that. But we're
talking about the independent contractor that doesn't have employees.
That doesn't have employees.
The person that's out there, or an individual that for some reason doesn't have COBRA and they're in between jobs. What would you offer them? What would you offer them? And it's getting a little bit beyond our discussion here.
Right.
But
if you're an independent contractor, you should get that has one employee, then you should be able to have the same full deduction that someone has that runs a multi-person company.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think the real issue, too, is that healthcare is a tax expenditure, and every taxpayer, whether they work for a large business or a small business or no business at all, pays that cost of that tax expenditure. And I think every individual at the individual level should have the right to deduct a certain amount with limitations of healthcare insurance. There's no reason why a large corporation should be able to get a tax advantage and a small business or an individual should not.
Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, I yield back the balance of my time.